most people, I'm hoping, who are going to see this on the Dharma Direction magazine blog will already know who you are. But if not, let me introduce Anja Dubberke. Is that how you say it?
Anja Dubberke, that's right.
Yay! I just call you Anja D.
Anja D. Good enough. I like it.
And real quick, just tell us, I know that you are a bioenergetic synchronization technique practitioner. Is that right? How's that all?
Bioenergetic synchronization technique practitioner. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Awesome. And for anybody who happens to be watching this and doesn't know what that is, please check out Anja's bio that's at the bottom of this video in the comments at the bottom. Okay, so let's get started. So when you were here last month and you and I were having breakfast, you said something that really stuck with me. And I didn't ask you about it at the time. I just let it kind of go by, but I've heard it several times since you were here. And that was about how energy cannot be made or destroyed. And that's not really something that a lot of people think about. You know, they think about, oh, get rid of that negative energy. So tell me what you meant by that.
Well, I essentially was like citing the quote of Mr. Albert Einstein at his finest, because he is actually one who discovered that energy cannot be created or destroyed. It only can be changed from one form to another. So if you just look into nature, let's say water, you know, everybody knows what water is. You can't make water go away. You can only change its form by, let's say, you boil it and you have steam, or you can like freeze it, becomes an ice cube. So the energetics of water is always the same. You can only change how it's showing up. So now if you take this to like the physical body, for instance, or like just the way how the mind functions, you cannot take a thought away. A thought is there. You can only choose what you're going to do with a thought and how you're going to basically run with it. You can, you know, like go down the negative lane, or you can go and change it into like something positive. It doesn't mean that a negative thought is going to like become a positive one, but you have the ability consciously deciding what you're going to do with that thought, if that makes any sense.
That makes perfect sense. I love that water analogy. I think that's something everybody can go, oh yeah, I totally get that. It makes absolutely perfect sense. Okay, cool. Thank you so much for that clarification. Now on your webpage, you mention SEMO, which stands for Subconscious Emotional Memory Override. And you say that that's one of the root causes to why our bodies are unable to heal the physical, chemical, and emotional disruptions that come along with that imbalance of energy. So can you expand a little bit again in a grade school terminology as to what exactly SEMO is?
Yes, I mean, in very simple terms, you know, if I give you another analogy, the body, you know, by nature is designed to respond to, you know, threat. So essentially, on a very primitive level, the body is here to survive. That's its only function. Now, the body cannot distinguish what's real from fake, meaning you can create a situation in your mind that can have a physical response. Right. For instance, let's say we take the emotion of worry, right? The emotion of worry in itself is nothing drastic, but if you live your life worrying all the time, you know, this has an impact on the body. Why? Let's say when you were like younger, you know, and you were worrying about, am I going to like pass the test in school? That's a small worry. Then as life goes on, you know, you have a family, you have kids, life is happening. And let's say fast forward in current day, you worry about, oh my God, how am I going to pay rent? And then this thought keeps into your head in the morning, then over lunch, before you go to bed, how am I going to pay rent? Now, this worry might be a little bigger than the worry back then with your test. In between, you have worries about, oh my God, my mom is getting older. How is she going to go up the stairs? She might break her hip. Oh my God, like my kid, you know, is it going to be safe going to school, and so forth and so forth. So you have like different levels of worry that are being stored in your subconscious in a very neatly organized file cabinet under the word worry. So you have little worry, medium-sized worries, and big worries. Now, this vibration, or like the energy that's being carried with the emotion of worry, releases chemicals into your body. So each emotion has a different chemical impact into your physical world. So what happens is that over time, the worry cabinet is so full that it gets locked into place, and now you're stuck because the release of the worry is constant and constant, but the body is not designed to like always like deal with that, with this threat. So it is an overdrive essentially, because you know you're not functioning on like, you know, like just get up in the morning and live your life. You're like getting up in the morning and immediately, you know, the response is, oh, we have to worry, 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 worry. And it results eventually into like disease that is caused by imbalances of the body, if that makes sense. So
That makes
and every
sense.
emotion holds a certain vibration that releases certain chemicals into the body.
Which thereby cause different things like stress, heart problems, and all of these things. Wow, that's crazy. Well, now you've just given me this really good visual of how stuffed my worry cabinet is. Sure. It is overflowing. Okay, so according to Dr. Sue Morter, which again, if anybody watching this doesn't know who Dr. Sue is, check out her book, Energy Codes. It's fabulous. And check out her website if you want. But according to Dr. Sue, one of the effects of SEMO is that it creates that chronic emergency stress response, like you were just talking about, always feeling like, you know, something is going to happen. So how does the B.E.S.T therapy that you do help with that kind of problem?
Well, essentially, you know, with any treatment, you always like going in with like what's at highest priority within the body. While everybody is stressed, you know, living in this current world, I mean, you know, it's tough to be human being on this planet Earth right now with everything what's going on, right? But on a physical level, the body functions on a priority level. So you might say I have a headache. Well, but the headache is just a byproduct of something else that's happening inside the body, which can be like just like a stress-induced, you know, memory, for instance. And what B.E.S.T does is it takes the most relevant aspect and targets that. So it might be that we need to do like 2 or 3 sessions prior to like really getting to the root cause as to why you have reoccurring headaches, or as to why you're always stressed out. Because again, it's a priority level that the body responds to. And getting to the root cause of, in the earlier example of like the worry cabinet being completely full, what happened to like trigger this response in the first place? And that could have been like a very different scenario that has nothing to do with worry. Maybe it was about, you know, you had a beautiful day growing up as a child and you were filled with joy, and all of a sudden something happens and it gets pulled out of under you, and now you live your life just being worried all the time, because joy is not something what's supposed to like be. You're not supposed to be joyful in your mind. Hence, I worry because last time this happened, I got smacked into the face. So, you know, so you're like kind of like dealing with like what's the most relevant, if it makes sense.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, totally. So it's almost like gardening, pulling out the
Yes.
weeds a bit.
Yes, it is. It is.
Now, so can you give us maybe a few tips that we can do at home to help when we maybe are having one of these moments? Something that you would recommend, whether it's, breathing or visualization or mantras? What do you recommend for a quick little fix if you can't go have a cocktail
Cocktail
or a glass of wine or whatever?
that would be preferred. No, but I mean, on a serious note, I think, what you can do at any given moment is like really like focusing on your breath. And, by just really like focusing on the breath, you can immediately interject the thought pattern. What I personally like to do is something what's called a conscious breath, or it's also called box breathing or four square breathing. And that is, very easily done anywhere in any situation, because you can do it internally and nobody's going to look at you like weird if you're trying to like strike a yoga pose or do some other techniques that are out there.
Right.
So,
I've seen that in the airport. It's kind of awkward.
yeah, but like breathing is something what you do naturally, but I think focusing on the breath is something what we are not accustomed to. And by just focusing on a conscious breath, meaning the easiest way to do is if you take an inhale at the count of 4, you hold it at a count of 4, you breathe out at a count of 4, you hold it out at the same count of 4, and you start over again. So you're basically breathing into like a square or into a box. And by just focusing on that, you totally interrupt the thought process and the pattern, and you're bringing the system back into like a neutral, or at least in a calmer state. And then you can like resume. And only like doing this by like, 4 or 5 repetition is enough to interject and stop the current thought process. And actively you can like even like tell your mind, nope, stop, we're not doing this, and then start the breathing. And if you can't count while you breathe, you can like also like just use your fingers and just go like sa, ta, na, ma.
Yes.
Ta, na, ma. So you don't have to like even count, just use your fingers as the 4 count. And that can be done anywhere you are, Now, if you want to carry this out, I just want to like add on, if you want to like carry this into like a little bit of a better practice where it becomes more meditative, you can increase the count to like 6 to 8 or 10 even, or 12. But you will realize that you're not trained to do so, because it takes a lot of like lung capacity and really focusing on like what's really going on. But also
even a 4 count can be. Yeah, even a 4 count can be hard for some people. I know I practiced that box breathing. It was suggested to me by a doctor because of all the anxiety that I always have. And what I love about it is, like you said, you can do it anywhere. And I get very anxious when I'm driving. And so it's the perfect thing to do while you're driving, because not only does it calm you down immediately, but all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm almost there. And it distracts your mind.
Yes.
Yeah. That's, it's so funny how breathing, most people don't think of breathing as a healing tool. It's just an auto response that it keeps us alive, but it's a wonderful, amazing healing tool. And I can testify, it totally works for me. Totally brings that that tightness and stuff in your chest, and it calms it down. It's, from what my doctors have said, it's kind of almost impossible for your body to be in a stressful state when you're practicing that breathing.
You're right, because you're bringing the breath deep into the belly, which is like anchoring and rooting and taking the stress out of the upper lobes of the lungs. It signals, like if you think about digestion, it's all about calming, and there's like be in your belly, not in the chest, which is shallow. Be in the belly and really root yourself. Yes.
Yay for breath.
Yes. Yes, it's very important.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time and your help in getting this video figured out. And when we're done here, I'll touch base with you and we'll figure out where it went.
Yes, sounds awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me on again. Also appreciate you
Oh, yeah.
and getting me on here. So it's really nice, good practice. And
Well, it's something that I believe in so very much, and I really want everybody else who comes into the Dharma world to have access to you, because I know that you can do some real good with your, not just what you know, but the person you are.
Thank you so
You're
much.
wonderful.
Yeah, same to you. All right.
Okay.
You have a wonderful day.
soon.
We talk soon.
Okay.
Okay, take care.
Okay.
Bye.